going over the tax levy, there is a zero net increase in the tax levy. There is some changes within the tax levy, but there's zero increase. The first one I want to go over is the police and fire retirement, the Act 345 levy. That's estimated to go up to 8.6 mils, or an increase of 0.39 mils. And that's in accordance with, like I said, I met with the mayor and administration. We came up with kind of like a 5-year plan because the liabilities are going up. We have the PA 202 corrective action plan that we have to take into account with the police and fire pension, and also the retirement health care with police and fire. So taking all that into account, we have accumulated some fund balance in that area where we've been using the last couple of years, and we're losing some next year, but we're teetering out that millage so that we're reducing the fund balance to an acceptable level, and making sure that we're not going to get hit with a large increase in any year. But we're at the point where we need to increase it up a little bit to cover the costs of the police and fire retirement fund. So that's why you see that millage increase there. You have the increase in Act 179 authority, and this millage really what it is, and we discussed this with Corporation Council as well too, and they recommended that we can do this, and looked at this millage all the way back to 1983. And it was before 1983, this millage was still around, but I only had records back in 1983. But what this represents is this millage is to help fund rubbish collection, garbage, the animal shelter. Those are all part of the joint venture, the Act 179 joint venture with Riverview. So, Councilman, how are you doing? So what it is how they calculate the past, because this millage went up and down since '83. It's always been up and down, and it remained flat for last, I would say probably 8, 9 years, kind of remained flat. But what it was in the past is kind of like a balancing millage for the garbage, rubbish collection, animal shelter, and those of the like, because of that authority. So basically, you take all the expenses, you net out the revenue from the services, you net out the garbage tax, and then whatever left over is your Act 179 authority millage. So that's what that represents, because that we've been using fund balance the last few years to offset some of those operating costs, and we depleted fund balance to the point where we needed to address the millage with that fund. So go ahead.
Riverview plan, is that because of the landfill?
Yes. Yeah, it's a joint venture under the Act 179 Act that we have with Riverview, because we have the animal shelter, rubbish collection, and we take all our rubbish to them for the landfill. So that's the joint venture. So, but the good news is all those increases are offset by a decrease in the what we call the EPA judgment revenue. Those bonds, if you recall from previous years when I discussed it, but that millage is related to the debt service on bonds that the Wayne County issued back in the early 90s to clean up the sewer system. There was a class action lawsuit. All 13 downriver communities had to pay into this lawsuit for these bonds. And this levy was issued to help pay for our portion of those bonds. But the bonds mature in 2021. Those bonds mature. So basically, some of the bond issuances are falling off, so we can reduce that levy because the bonds are falling off. So obviously, we can reduce that levy, and then, like I said, so it's a net zero on the tax levy for the individuals. So.
When was that judgment? I was just curious.
The judgment will be ceased once the bonds mature, and in 2021, I believe all the big bonds will mature. There's still a little bond, like maybe an annual debt service like $200,000 that will carry on to, I think, 2025, but we're not going to levy for that. That's going to just come out of the sewer fund. So.
When did it start going down?
95,
Okay.
I believe. Yeah. If you think about it, I think it was 95, and it was. I want to say maybe a 15-year bond, or 96. Depends when there were many issuances, like between 95 and maybe 2000 as this lawsuit was going on. There was incremental issuances that resulted in a couple things falling off this year, a couple of them falling off last year, and the majority of them now fall off in 2021. And then our debt would be nothing for that, so we're not going to levy for that after that year. So. But we had the luxury of reducing that levy this year, so that's the tax levy. Page 17 is something I like to put in here, because I know there's always the, and you guys may have the questions about, how high is, Taylor's taxes, but page 17 shows the total tax rate comparison. This is based on the 2018 tax year. Yep. And this is, like I said, this is your non-homestead rate, so if you were, a business or a renter or something like this, this would be the millage rate that you would pay on all the taxes in each of these communities, so.
This can't be true.
What's that?
This can't be true. You got the highest tax rate down there. You got the highest tax rate anywhere.
It says Facebook.
And of course, you guys hear that a lot, we hear that a lot, and that's why it's important that we include this, that
It should be our conversation.
it's a great barometer of where we've been in those years. Obviously, we're right in the middle. We strive to continue to find ways to reduce, but at the same time, we continuously strive to find ways to increase services. So, it's a balancing act of providing both, but,
So you look at these cities,
the cities or the, what do you
if
call
you
them?
look at these cities, you can see the comparison, the size of them.
Yeah.
Correct.
And I know one thing, though, this is based on the 18 tax rate, which is last year, because that's the most recent information on the state website. But I know that, for example, Romulus, they passed that village, for public safety, so they're gonna be higher than us, but again, I
Next
don't.
time around,
Yeah, so, as I say, it's like, we wanna be, like, yeah, everybody wants to be north of the Livonia area, but, like I said, I think comparable to the cities around us, we're right in the ballpark or even better.
Yeah.
That's it, and then the next few, like I said, I know I've tried to summarize, well, over the next few graphs, you have the general fund revenue broken out by, or actually this is your tax revenue, broken out by percentages of just the city tax, an average taxable value of 38,000, it kind of breaks it out, okay, where does that 38,000 go to? Like, the tax would be about $1,030, and it breaks down where it goes to in the city. So you have the highest, actually the highest now would be the police and fire retirement at 31.7%, then it goes to operating 31.1%, then we have the EPA judgment, we have the judgment at the library, building debt, which is the TPA, the garbage tax, and then the Act 179 tax, so.
So the rest of the general retirement is in general operating? Like, not police and fire, but I.
Correct, the general, yeah, there's not a village for the general.
Oh, right, okay.
Okay, page 19 is kind of, now it breaks down revenue by type in the general fund. So, as you can see, the largest part of our revenue is property tax. So that's why I was saying, the taxable value is a very important thing to the city because it's our largest tax source. And then, closely right at that is your state sharing revenue, your fines and forfeitures, and then you get into other financing sources, which is made up of the reimbursements from other funding sources, and your charges for services is the next biggest one on there. So, page 20, go into the expenditures for general fund, broken down by activity, being general government, public safety, public works, economic development. So as you can see, the public safety is just under 40% of the general fund budget. General government is 23%. And then you got the non-departmental is your retirement, in case you have a question on that, and debt service. And then you have public works, economic development, recreation, culture. 21 is expenditures based on type of expenditures, meaning personal services versus supplies versus capital outlay, and about 68% of the budget is in personal services, wages and benefits, and that's common. We're a service oriented, we're a service provider is what we are. So in most service provider industries, it's typical to see your wages and benefits to be the majority of your budget for the type of expense.
So other services and charges are like contractual?
Yeah, yep. Other service charges are defined as professional services, contractual, repairs and maintenance, things of that nature. All right. And that's it on the fancy graphs. So that concludes, like I said, that concludes my presentation on the summary portion. And again, any questions that you don't think of today or during the meetings, you can always email me or the department themselves to go over that. So according to our schedule, I guess my department would be first. I don't see my department anywhere on here. So I guess we'll go to my department and then we can discuss it real quick. So something new this year for you guys is, since we have this fancy technology and the screen here, I can bring up, I did email you a copy of everybody's work papers that kind of look like this. So I can bring this on the screen too. If you guys didn't print them out, I don't see any printouts, but we have a screen here that we can go over. So that being said, like I said, because of the font size,
A lot of times with those is I can't get permission because they come to my Gmail. It's not my city Gmail.
yeah,
So
I think I sent everybody city email because you cannot open
Yeah.
these, and you have to open them through city email
Right.
because of the security measures. So because I can't fit everything on the screen, so I'm just gonna go to my projected budget, and if you have any questions, you can go questions, but I'll just kind of summarize a little bit for you.